All right, good evening. It's 6 p.m. We'll go ahead and get started with the meeting. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. At this time, we'll go ahead and stand for a quick invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Luis, if you'd like to lead us on the invocation, please.
Our presence here among us, give us the wisdom and ability to make the right choices for this town. In your name we pray, amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, there doesn't seem to be any visitors' remarks. Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, we'll take a look at the consent agenda items. And wanted to see if any of the council would like to pull any of those before we take a vote for 1 through 7. You can go ahead and ask your question.
And I pay them $60 per student, and that the students will be paying a fee. How much is that fee that the students are paying?
It's $60. It's $60.
So the city's pitching in 60, and the student pays 60?
No. No, it's just $60.
Oh, okay. Because the way I read it, it said that the city was going to provide a $60 fee per student for whatever expenses, and that the students were going to be charged the fee.
They pay us, and then we pay the gentleman. It's a wash. So we don't make any money off of those swimming lessons. We just do it for the same amount. And so, but we want it to be registered here and recorded so that it doesn't come back, well, somebody charged extra or got an extra deal. And so they pay here, and then once the season's over, we write one check to cover it.
Okay, thank you.
Probably wasn't very clear in our.
Okay, with that said, is there any that we'd like to pull or make a motion for any of the consent agenda items from 1 through 7? I'm sorry? Okay, so you want to pull out 1 and 7. So with that said, is there a motion from 2 to 6?
I'll make a motion to pass consent agendas 2 through 6.
I second.
Okay, motion has been approved and seconded. With that said, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
And those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. At this time, consent agenda item number 1, consideration and action to approve the minutes from July 12th, 25th, 2022. Any questions or comments?
Yes, the reason I pulled this because I have on the item on.
Oh, can you put your microphone on, please? Thank you.
On Tuesday, July 12th, there was on the meeting when we didn't table action on the item. We didn't make no action. That's the reason why I'm not approving this meetings, regular meetings. So that's why I pulled this. I'm not gonna approve it. So you guys can approve it, and I'll just.
Okay, with that said,
Okay, so we're looking at page 9. Is that what we're doing? Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to, page 9, I'm looking at the no action. Okay, right here. No action, discussion and possible action terminating the services of Lineberger, a group attorneys, collection of fines and fees, release 60 days curative letter, and termination is required by contract. So we have a no action there. Is that,
Uh,
what I believe
My
that,
my concern is that our city attorney, Enrique Juarez, advised the city council to table this item, and it wasn't tabled. That's the reason why I denied it.
Okay, so with that said, is there a motion to approve, consideration and action item
I
number
think
one?
it's wording more than anything, Mark. But we can fix that. And how does that work? If we can fix that wording, and can we approve it now? Or we have to wait?
Well, if you think something needs to be changed, but what he's saying is the attorney said to table the item, which is the words he used on the tape. But if you'll recall, we had a big discussion about table means just take no action. And so we took no action, which is the same result. And so, if you
So
take
it's
no
just that.
action,
Okay, so
nothing
I'm,
happens. If you table it, nothing happens. So that's, we chose to just take no action.
so no action was taken, and that's what it marks right there. So, I guess if anything, I know, because you had explained to us what tabled meant, and it meant it could come back again or something, and maybe that's where it's at. At that point, yeah, if we can just scratch off tabled and just put no action in.
Well, we can't change the minutes from what was done. What he is saying is that we didn't officially take a vote to table the item, which is a true statement. But
You can fix
the
that.
results is the same.
Yeah, you can fix that, and I don't know, can we approve it? Is that something that can be approved through this, the way it's written out like that? You don't see why not?
I don't know what you're saying.
It can't be changed.
It can't be changed.
It's just, now you guys can approve it, and I'll just deny it, but
How about if you
So-
take it out and just re-put it on the next session? Can you do that? No, because it's for the minutes of last month.
But Luis, nothing changes. The attorney said, use the words, table the item. When our discussion happened, we said, taking no action has the same results of tabling it. And so he said, yes. And so y'all as a board took no action. And so there's really nothing to change. It's just that Juan has a strong feeling that I wanted it to be officially voted on to tabled instead of take no action. And I understand where he come from on his viewpoint. But as far as what occurred, we can't change in the minutes what occurred.
So at this time, we have consent agenda item number one. Is there a motion to be made?
I move that we accept consent agenda number 1 as written.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. At this time, consent agenda item number 7 reads, consideration and action to approve the write-off of bad debt for the utility accounts and garbage for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Any questions or comments in regards to this?
yeah, the reason I tabled this one, Mark, is we have a couple of like real estates, outfiltering companies, MKZ builders. Are those no longer here with the city, or?
They're no longer here as far as we know. We can't contact them. Be assured that while we write these off, they're still there. And so we get a notice if someone comes back to say they try to do a permit or do something later, it'll log us and notify us. And so we can then try to collect it if we need to.
Mark,
And-
there's Los Fresnos Fitness Gym. Is that the gym that's in that plaza in front of the eye doctor?
Yes, sir. It was the old people that
The old
that left.
owners. Okay, the old owners, okay. Any questions or comments about consent agenda item number 7? And if not, if there's a motion to be made,
I move that we approve consent agenda number 7 as written.
I'll go ahead and second that. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Moving on to the action items. Number 1 reads discussion and review of applications received for upcoming vacancies and current members in the following boards and positions. Planning and Zoning Commission, Place 1, Robbie Walsdorf. Place 2, Gordon Capon. Place 3, Larry Stomball. Place 4, Juan Sierra. Number 2, Park Advisory Board, Place 1, Gil Gomez. Place 2, Eduardo Lugo. Place 3, Natasha Taylor. Housing Authority Board, Place 4, Alejandro Juarez. And Place 5, Alma Nora Barney. Any questions or comments about action item number 1 or any clarification that needs to be made?
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to comment that if you recall last year, we discussed a policy to try to not make the appointments or rather the reappointments or getting somebody off that happens just in one meeting and we're, whoa, what happened? And so these come up for action at the next meeting. So this gives you 30 days to be able to know them. If you don't know them, contact them. If you don't, I tried to put some comments in all of them. They're all willing to continue to serve, which is very good. I can say that all of them add a certain little piece that makes that board better. And so doesn't mean that a new person wouldn't, because others can too, but the ones that are on there, of course, we make no recommendations on that. The only ones that you'll see a recommendation is the Housing Authority, and that's Mrs. Puga, which is the Executive Director of the Housing Authority. And so she knows them. I don't, we kind of don't deal with those, so you can see the comments there on page 40 on that. So just wanted to be sure that you knew why it was there and no action to be taken. It's just knowledge, and then you got till next meeting to make a decision.
So if nobody has any further questions, we'll move on to the next one since there's no action to be taken.
Thank you, Mark.
I'll go ahead and move on with that said to action item number 2, which is consideration and action to approve the renewal contract for City Attorney Enrique Juarez. I do want to say that I know that there's times on the weekend when I reach out to him and he always answers the phone. He could be getting ready to travel, and I just want to say I appreciate that. Now, with that said, you do have a visitor's remarks that you filled out and you'd like to speak at this time. Why don't you come on up and speak?
Thank you. I have, 3 minutes, 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Okay. I'll be brief. I like to talk, but I'm not going to talk you all to death. There's enough of that going on.
I'll have Dale put the
I am-
timer.
Here to tell you that this is probably my last hurrah. In a meeting previous, we talked about why we do things every 3 years so that we don't burden the next 2. For example, you give me a 10-year contract, the next 2 or 3 councils are going to have to deal with me because they're tied to a contract. So we come up every 3 years. This is my 3rd year. But this is probably my last term because I'm 71 years old. By the time this contract is over, I'll be close to 75. I don't feel like I got to quit. I've been practicing 34 years. I have a lot of experience. I've handled from the smallest traffic case with John Doe Citizen here in Los Fresnos. I've handled big cases. I've been on CNN. I've had calls on cases from England, Australia, Canada on one particular case. So I have a lot of experience, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to tell you that I'm at the end of my road, so to speak. My wife has told me at 75 you quit. But I don't want to just come up one day and say, hey, you know what, I quit, and I leave you all holding the package. One of my proudest things that I've done is when I first started here, I said, I'm not gonna charge the city. I'll do it for free. I was a prosecutor, but I said, I'll be a city attorney for free. And I said, I'll do it for a year, and I forgot, so I probably did it for 2 or 3 years. But anyway, someone in the commission told me one time, he says, you know, you need to start charging for this, so I did. And in the past, I think in 2005, I'm about 6 months behind Mark. I was charging $125, and I now charge $150. I've had one raise for $25 an hour. If my rate, you know, if you could compare it to Dillard's, a discount store, and Goodwill, my rates are Goodwill prices. I like that term because I have nothing but goodwill for the city of Los Fresnos. I love what I do. My job mainly is prosecutor. I've been prosecuting since 2005. I'm very proud of that. I'll tell you now, Thursday I'm supposed to go to Fredericksburg because I've been nominated for Prosecutor of the Year by the Texas Municipal Court Association. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of not only me, because I'm not the one that handles everything. And I'm going to say this with gloves. I've seen some of you in the CDC meetings, but I've never seen any of you in court, not as defendants, you know, as observers. But I would like for you all to come see what a great staff we have, what a great judge, a great, you know, we have a very good reputation as far as collections go. We're very high, and that has to do with the quality of work that happens here, not just me. It's everyone involved, from the bailiff to the court clerks, to myself, to the judge. Okay? So anyway, I have nothing but goodwill. I think that if I had to put a label on what I do with the city, and not only with the council, but with the city, I would use the word fairness. You have to be fairness. You have to listen to people. You have to hear what they're saying. My job in municipal court is that, to be fair. I have to, the Code of Criminal Procedures, it calls it justice be done. Okay? As far as counseling the, 1 minute? Talk that much? Wow. As far as the council goes, I tell you what the law is. The law is the law. I don't make it. And anyway, I'm asking that you renew my contract. I'm not asking for more money, although everything's going up. And I appreciate your time. Thank you. It's a pleasure working with you all. It's challenging, the questions you ask, because they're intelligent and they make you think. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Juarez. And again, thank you for always being, you always answer the calls. Thanks for always, you know, picking up the phone regardless of what you're doing. Thank you for picking up your phone on the weekends, on days that I call you sometimes. You always answer and you're always available for us. So just wanted to say thank you. Any questions or comments on action item number 2? If not, is there a motion?
I move that we approve and renew the contract for city attorney for Enrique Juarez.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and it's been seconded. At this time, everybody in favor, please raise your hand and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose, do the same. Motion carries. Thank you. Action item number 3, consideration and action to approve a budget amendment to the general fund. Mark, would you like to share anything on this before we open it up to
Sure,
questions?
just a few comments. It's a routine deal that we do about this time of year. We do have additional municipal court fines and fees, as you can see on packet page 48, and additional shooting range funding because of Homeland Security and Border Patrol that uses the range. And then just the reimbursement for fire and EMS when they pay whatever the charge for insurance is, they pay. So we estimated it was a little higher than what we thought, so they pay us more. That's on that page. The second, page 49, nothing real outstanding there except a couple of mistakes I made on some technology agreements. I left the social media one off, and the Barracuda, I explained that one. It's a 3-year deal, and I thought it was next year's budget, but fortunately we have enough money. What that does is protects our internet and our system. So that was those. The page 50 talks a little bit about fuel for PD. It really didn't, the price of fuel didn't affect some of the other departments because they don't drive as much and they don't have as many vehicles. You know, Public Works probably has as many vehicles, but they're only 8 to 5, except for the guy on call. Whereas PD, they're 24/7, so that's why that affects them more. And then the last one on page 51, it just shows where fire department's insurance was higher, so they paid a little more, which I talked about that reimbursement. So pretty simple items.
Thank you, Mark, for that explanation. And is there any comments or questions from any of the council? If not, if there's a motion to be made?
I move that we approve the budget amendments to the general fund as stated.
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded by the council. All those in favor of it signify by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Action item number 4 is as stated. Consideration and action to utilize excess funds from the 2021-2022 fiscal year for needed purchases. Mark, any comments?
I turned it off. This one is a good one when you see that we've budgeted well, and then also we budgeted conservatively and we also spent conservatively. So we have some excess funds, and what we want to do with those, as you can see, is the excess revenues comes from the collections of municipal court, 108,677, and the biggest, well, not the biggest, but the first part of that is tasers. You can see that we have some old tasers. We want to replace all of them. That'll be $55,000. There's 15 officers that will get those. Good thing is it's a double cartridge. It's some new technology. Before in the old days, if you tase somebody and you missed or something malfunctioned, that's it. You can't do anymore. Well, with the 2 cartridge, you've got another opportunity. Or if something happened where you had 2 subjects. So that's for the tasers. The next one is rifles. We currently have 6 rifles. We would like to get 6 more just to have. I don't want us to be in a position where someone says, why didn't you? And I did put a mistake thing. I put automatic. They're semi-automatic. They're not truly automatic, which most of the rifles are that way, even though the media sells it the other way. But we'd like to do that. And then the last thing is half out of the general fund for streets and half out of water and sewer for a new backhoe. We use the backhoe in all over the city. We use it in streets. We use it for drainage. We use it for a water leak, a sewer leak, and everything. So we can fund it from both ends, and we have the funding to be able to do that. So that's what.
On that end, Mark, are we looking to retain that used backhoe that we've been using, or are we gonna auction it or do something with it?
We will retain it for a little bit, as long as it doesn't
Cost
cost
effectiveness?
us a bunch,
Yeah.
and it starts costing a bunch, then we'll put it up for auction. Which is what we always do with excess.
All right, Mark, thank you for that explanation. Does any of the council have any other comments or questions that they'd like to ask?
I have a question for PD, if you don't mind, guys. I always like to ask, I run a program and I've always I know how asking for things or situations, sometimes you want to be cautious, or is there anything on here, I know you talked to Mark, anything on here that you kind of kept to yourself that you're like, man, maybe I could have put in or something like that extra that you guys would need aside from tasers and those 6 rifles?
I'm sorry, it echoes when you talk this line.
Is there anything else that you kind of would have wanted to put on here and then that left off?
I think we put all the discussion we have with Mark and stuff, that's what we requested, and whatever is allowed by
Juan, would you like to come up to the microphone to say that, please? Thank you.
Sorry about that. I think everything we discussed with Mark and finance and stuff, when we sit down and do budget, everything that's here on the capital outlay that we presented before him is what we need. Of course, it depends what you approve to allow us to get some of the stuff that's needed at this time. We do make adjustments where it's needed and stuff, but yes, whatever the city council approves.
But this would pretty much, I guess my question is there more we can do, or you think that's enough?
I think we're good. I'm not gonna say no, there's always more that you can do, but if the budget allows it, we're gonna take it.
I like, just for me, like I said, just going on my background and what I used to do, yes, there's sometimes we have to say no, right? But we also like to say yes too, right? So if there's situations of dreams, put them on there, man. We'll figure it out, and we can't, we'll say no.
There's gonna be the wants and the needs, so we'll balance.
Thank you, sir. Mark, go ahead and make your comment.
Just for your information, it'll come up during budget, but there are other items that are going to be done in the budget for next year. We didn't have any more room in excess funds for this year. Probably the only one we will not be able to address is 2 new vehicles, but we can make do. We talked to them, make do through this next year. We have 2 that you approved to order this time last year that won't get here till December because of the backlog. So we'll go over that because they already ordered some ballistic shields that kind of came up in Uvalde, and kind of a difference in philosophy. Prior to then, I think everybody was looking to, you had SWAT teams and everything that would come and do this, and became apparent that you need some people to be able to go in immediate. So we've ordered through this year's budget ballistic shields for our everybody, and not everybody, but enough to utilize. And then in the budget next year will be body cams that need to be replaced.
Trainings, I know with everything that happened, I'm sure that increased trainings with increased fees usually happens too.
We've got that in the budget, and they've already done a ton since May.
It's not that I want to put you in more trainings, guys. I'm doing it right now. I know how that feels like.
Thank you, Mark, for that explanation. And it's great to see that we're taking some proactive steps to address the Uvalde shooting. So with that said, any more questions or comments in regards to action item number 4? If not, if there's a motion to be made.
I move that we utilize the access funds for 2021, 2022 fiscal year as stated.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded by the council. With that said, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Moving on to action item number 5. As stated, consideration and action to acknowledge the finance director's certification of the estimated ad valorem tax collected rate for 2022 and the excess debt tax collected for 2021 tax year. Mark, on this one, is this in regards to the property tax values going up and we're keeping the same rate, but because of the increased property value, we'll be getting some excess funds?
That is
Or am I
in
jumping the
a
gun?
little bit. This one's dealing with this year's, the tax year that we're in. Our collection rate right now is 97.8%, as it says, and we will end up collecting excess from last year's of 45,296 than what we had anticipated. So we have to acknowledge that. What you're talking about will come in just a minute, but
Okay, getting ahead of myself there. I just saw ad valorem.
yes, it's correct, but it's
It's in
the
there,
current year.
yeah. Any other questions about or comments from the council in regards to action item number 5? Basically acknowledging the excess debt we received of 45,000, or monies of 45,296. And if not, if there's a motion to be made?
I move that we accept the finance director's certification of the estimated ad valorem tax in excess of 45,296.
Okay, motion has been made. And I'll go ahead and second that. With that said, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Those who oppose, do the same. Motion carries. Moving on to action item number 6, consideration and action to acknowledge the Cameron Appraisal District Chief Appraiser's certification of the 2022 tax roll. Mark, is there any questions or comments?
This is the one, Mr. Mayor, you were referring to, $355,262,058 dollars. It's an increase of 36 million, almost 37 million, 11% increase.
Wow.
And then you see that of the new properties is little over 10 million. So that is positive growth with the new properties there. And you just have to acknowledge that information.
Mark, this is due to all the new residents that are popping up in town. It's picking up the values, correct?
Residents, businesses.
Great. Any questions or comments from any of the council in action item number 6? If not, if there's a motion to be made?
I move that we acknowledge the Cameron County Appraisal District's Chief Appraiser certification of the 2022 tax roll.
Okay, motion has been made. Would any of the council like to second that?
I second that motion.
Thank you very much. Motion has been made and seconded by the council. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose, do the same. Motion carries. Moving on to action item number 8, as stated, consideration and action to propose a tax rate for the tax year 2022. Take a record vote. If proposed tax rate exceeds the lower of the non-new revenue or voter approval, and set dates for public hearings if necessary. Mark, would you like to state anything?
Yeah, just these kind of things are very confusing. The papers that are attached take a lot of work on finance director's part. No new revenue if property tax would stay the same of what we receive, not the rate of what the city received. That no new revenue tax rate would be 67 cents, 67.3087. We're going to propose in a minute to leave it at 71.5. We will realize a little bit of increase, and you'll see that increase is 260,587. The voter approval tax rate is the highest rate you can decide to go without having an election, which is 1.01356. I'm not proposing that we change it, but if for some reason you had decided that, we want to raise taxes, property taxes, you could go to 1.013516 before we have to call an election.
We're going through such a difficult time right now with inflation. We don't need people paying more taxes.
No.
So with that said, is there any questions or comments from any of the council in regards to this action item number 8?
Okay, so on the bottom, it says this has starred value under ARB review has a potential loss of capacity of 2 to 4%. Is that our loss budget-wise?
Where are you looking at?
Appraisal District 1E6A at the bottom. Is that where we're at?
You got a page?
462?
That's
Oh,
from
we're
the
past
previous.
that.
That's from the
Perfect.
previous.
Okay, that's kind of what I'm trying to figure.
I think we're looking for the notice of the 2022 tax year proposed property tax rate for the city of Los Fresnos.
But I can answer that. It's okay because it's all part of tax. Where it said, what it says is the market value under arbitration review. In other words, it goes to an arbitrator. You don't like the value of that you were given by the appraisal district. You can appeal it and it goes for review. What page 62 shows is there's 0 properties up for review. In other words, they've either resolved it already or there was nobody petition saying, I don't like this. If there was a figure there, the norm is that there's a potential loss of 2 to 4% of that when they settle it. So if there's, say there's $100,000 that is being challenged, they say kind of plan on a 2 to 4% on average. Sometimes it's 0, sometimes it's more than that, but on average that you would lose. We don't have to worry about that because there's 0.
Thank you, Mark, for that explanation. With that said, is there any other questions or comments from the council in regards to action item number 8? And if not, if there's a motion to be made?
I move that we acknowledge the calculations of the city's no new revenue and voter approval tax rate for 2022. 2022-2023.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion has been made for, and seconded for action item number 8 as stated. With that said, all those in favor signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Aye. And all those who oppose, do the same. Motion carries. At this time, we'll be doing the acknowledgement of the city manager's reports. Mark, any updates or council? Oh, Mark, go ahead with your.
Number 8 was.
Oh, we just did number 8. Did I? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got a little ahead of myself there. So consideration and action to propose a tax rate for tax year 2022. Take a record vote if proposed tax rate exceeds the lower of the no new revenue or voter approval, and set dates for public hearings if necessary. I apologize. Mark, any questions or comments on this?
We were
Comments?
proposing and develop the budget at 71.5 like we have in the past. We would only need to do one public hearing because we're not going above like we do. And that public hearing would be held on September 6th at 6 p.m. And so, as you know, because the property values went up, we realized some increase. And so we're not saying that taxes aren't increasing, we're not increasing the rate. And so we'd like to keep it at 71.5. That's what we're basing projections on. And so what we need from you is just that the bottom says, I recommend the ad valorem property tax rate of 71.5 per 100 valuation for the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget, setting one public hearing for Tuesday, September 6th at 6 p.m. at City Hall. This vote will have to be a record vote of each individual council member, and all you need to, you don't have to read that every time. You just say, I agree, or yes, yes. And if you don't, then you have to say no.
And this will give us, this will give the residents a more tax, but it's not due to the tax rate, it's due to the value of the property.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm a little confused on the rate exceeds the lower of the no new revenue tax, which we just we just approved, or voter approval. So what does that entail to this? Why does that matter?
Because the state legislature says it matters.
So
It's simple
I'm
as
trying to
that.
figure how it's connected and why it would be.
Well, each legislative session for the last, I don't know how many years, there's been fights about property tax. And, you know, there's pros and cons each way. You know, we don't have a state income tax, so that's why property tax is higher than some states, but hey, we don't have income tax. So whether you agree with that or not, what the state legislature says is we want your residents to know. So if you're gonna use a rate that is higher than your no new revenue rate, our no new revenue rate is 67 point whatever. And so we're gonna use 71.5, which is 4 cents difference. We have to hold a public hearing to let our residents know. The other piece of the voter approval rate is that 101. If you say, you know what, we need to raise taxes to 102, when we would then have to have 2 public hearings, but it would also have to go into a vote in November for that rate to take effect, to let the residents say, yes, you're gonna raise it that much, or no, you're not. Does that make sense?
A lot better. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the council? And if not, if there's an action.
So the proposed tax rate is not changing, it's 7.15, and that's why you're giving us the 4 figures. So, the no new revenue rate is 67.3. Can you repeat again, the taxes aren't increasing, the values are, and why that matters that we're above? Like, I'm just trying to figure out why can't we do 67.3 and not worry about it?
What they do is, all of those papers that it takes a lot of time and effort to see how you put in there, you put all these figures, and what you're doing is going back to the properties of last year and the properties on this roll this year, taking off the new stuff and adding, abstracting sales tax and some other things that are supposed to be done. And so what they want to do is have equal revenue last year and equal revenue this year. If we did that, we would set our rate at 67 point whatever cents. But because valuations went up, we're gonna realize some extra revenue. And so, and by leaving the tax rate at 71.5, for those people that had increases in their appraisal, they're gonna realize a tax increase of a few dollars as well.
So if, let's say my tax rate, my home value went up $40,000 last year. It's a 71.5
Per
that it-
100
per
valuation.
$100 value.
And so you would realize that your neighbor might have had 0 increase, and so
Because they just bought theirs and they bought it at a high rate already,
Or
and so
whatever,
it's,
yeah.
because it, I mean, I know it.
all those,
Yeah, all those gets
all those
factored in.
variables that come in when you get your appraisal from the appraisal district and you talk to different people and you go, mine went up, so-and-so, mine didn't go up, or whatever. And then the other piece to that puzzle is it can't go up, the value can go up more than 10%, but they can't charge you more than that. So what the appraisal district does, it might go up $40,000 or 40%, or let's just say 30%. They'll take 10 this year, and the next year they'll take another 10, and next year another 10, and it fits within the law. And all those things are set by the Texas legislature.
Okay, so,
So on something like this, Mark, it's just coming up to my mind. For people that are like 75, 80, and they go claim as a homestead in the tax office, will their taxes go down, or how does that work?
with the valuation,
There's a homestead exemption for everyone, And so it's only on those that homestead. And so I think that increased. I can't remember what that dollar is, but I think it increased with this Texas legislature last year. But everybody gets it. Well, you have to apply for it. Now, if you have a rental property, there's no homestead. You pay full. Or if you have a business, there's no homestead exemption because it's a
It's gotta
business.
be your house, your homestead.
Correct.
So people living in fixed incomes here in Los Fresnos, it depends on their evaluation of their home and how that appraisal worked out. And that's county, that's not us. I guess that's the only thing. I mean, it's
Correct.
just more of a concern more than anything, but we can't really do much about that.
And then veterans get, they don't pay property taxes on 100% disabled veterans. Any other questions or comments from the council in regards to action item number 8? And if not, if there's a motion to be made?
You have to take a record vote, yes or no.
Okay. Commissioner Lopez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Fernandez?
Yes.
Mayor Flores, yes? Commissioner
No.
Morales?
Yes.
Yes.
You said no, Luis? Okay.
Alrighty, moving on to, now we can move on to the acknowledgement of the city manager's reports. And Mark, any updates and any of the major projects we're working on? And if not,
I would like to address two,
okay.
and of course you can ask any questions, but one is TxDOT. They are working to flip the traffic from the intersection to the west towards O'Reilly's. And Thursday morning, you'll be going on the new part, and they will tear up the south side of the roadway and hopefully get moving on that. They still have not done any work over here. I did find out what the additional holdup is. The machine that they use to do the curb and the sidewalk is a very expensive piece of equipment, $500,000 plus. I believe somebody put water in the diesel. And so it's an insurance claim, and insurance is taking very slow. I suggested they do the sidewalk and the curb the old-fashioned way, but they want to wait till the machine gets done, so that's why they're doing the west side. And once that claim gets done and they get to utilizing that machine again, they'll finish up this side and do flip here, so.
Is there any way we could request TxDOT to have them rent that equipment from another company because of the delays they're causing?
There's.
I know that's not
It's in the contractor's hands, because they've suggested to the contractor that, to do it the old-fashioned way, and the contractor says, no, we don't want to do that, and they can't force them. My understanding is South San Antonio, that's the only machine of its likeness. And so it's not like they can go down the road and borrow one.
Mark, the water, is that their fault, or did somebody go there maybe at night and tamper with the machine?
It was employee fault,
Wow.
error. So that's there. I wanted to talk about the drought contingency plan in Rio Grande River water levels. We had a meeting in the county, if you read the paper, saw the news, with the county judge and all municipalities and water supplies. To say it's serious is probably not serious enough. If you recall, when we went on our first conservation and followed our plan at 35%, most people's don't kick in till 25. I believe that's too late, because I think we did that in March, and now it's August. So the water storage capacity in Amistad and Falcon went from 35 in March to today, 21.9. So that's a 13%, I think, isn't that right? 21, 35, yeah. About 13%. So if you take another 5-6 months, will be at 9%. No one knows when the levels will stop flowing, but that will happen at some point. There's no real solution except pray for some rain. I will say that we do have, we're a 2.28% owner in Southmost Regional Water Authority. The current production is about 8 million gallons a day. So we get 2.28% of that, which is about 182,000 gallons. For the month of July, we averaged 652,000 gallons. So there's a difference of 400,000 gallons. So if that were to happen, where we had no water in the river, there would be very little water to go around, but that's the way it is. We couldn't take more than ours because Brownsville's gonna be wanting to keep all their share. The port's gonna be wanting to keep all their share.
I'm assuming all municipalities at that point will want to keep everything.
Well, there's only 4 of us, and no one else has this type of system in the valley than us. So, we are fortunate to have that. The plant is designed, Southmost Regional's plant is designed for 10 million. They haven't been able to get 10 million. So they're working to increase that capacity to where they can get the 10 million, because if they got the 10 million, we could go up to 228,000 gallons a day. And you might not think that's a bunch, but when we're sharing it in a horrible situation, if we get to that point, that extra 40,000 gallons is going to be pretty precious.
Mark, what about car washes? I know we're still letting them wash cars. Is there gonna come a point where we have to reduce that, or something has to get done?
Yeah, can I finish this and then
Sorry.
we'll go to the rules that change?
Go ahead.
They're also pushing to and Gabby will know this since she sits on that board, looking at the possibility of moving the capacity from 10 million to 12 million and how quick they can make that happen. That would be awesome, because that would give us to 273,000 gallons a day. So all of that will help. The
that
other
would be-
piece that I'm,
That would be considering where they're allowed to pull it from the river, because I'm assuming if we get into a drought at some point, even that kind of would get minimized.
It's not from the river.
Oh,
It's from the wells. that
Okay,
they-
so this is reverse osmosis, salt desalination?
Yes.
right, not desalination, well, to a
Brackish
point, but
water?
not true desalination like you would from the ocean, because it's too expensive. But it's brackish water from the groundwater, and I think the last time they did their study a few years ago, it was 150 years of supply for the whole valley. So that's probably where people should go, but that's another story for another day.
Are there any restrictions for well? I know in California they have metered wells and stuff like that, but we don't have any of that in our area.
I don't know a lot about that.
I'm just asking because if it gets to a point, right, we're hoping for rain and praying for rain, but at some point I would see, we would want to incentivize people if they can use less of our water and more if they can start draining from their own wells. If they want to, maybe consider an incentive for a well.
He was gonna go and he was gonna tell the restrictions. That's what he mentioned.
That is a possibility of a person drilling a well in their yard. There becomes a lot of problems with that because of contamination, cross-contamination that I'm hooked up to city water and I have a well, and that water it has to be treated as it comes out of the well. And so if it's not, it gets in our system and then contaminates everybody. So there's a lot of problems with that, and so I don't think that that's something that we want to happen.
No, but if we can have it a separate system to where they do their irrigation sprinklers or something like that, to where they're not tapping into ours, but they they can use the water that they have underground. I don't know, maybe that's something we can consider to maybe, there is problems with wells, I know and I understand that from working in the ranches. But at this point, if we're gonna get to a critical state, I would like to see if we can have something for our citizens to have an option. Not many, I would imagine, would even take it.
Yeah, yeah, we don't want to propose that. If a private citizen wants to go down that road, they're welcome to go down the road. I don't, there's all kinds of problems if we have 2,000 wells in our city. I don't think we can do that, and so you don't want to go there. And then what do you do when the reservoirs are full again? And so I think that you just, from a city standpoint, we need to stay with what we're doing and producing. If a private citizen wants to do something on their own, that's their choice to do. Now, they have to get permits, and there's a lot of things that have to happen. So I don't think we should be, promoting that.
No, that's something that we don't want to propose because it's a whole process when having a well to take out the water and everything, to be able to use it, so it's not something that we want to.
No, I agree, and I know how well water works, but I cannot see where, if somebody like myself, I mean, I know how to put a well up and I know how to filter that water out, but there's no restrictions if I would want to do it at my house or anybody else from our city standpoint.
Yeah, there are restrictions, absolutely. TCEQ restrictions, city restrictions, there's a lot of restrictions on, so let me try to explain some other problems with low water level is you'll go into boil notices. We don't have that problem in Los Fresnos like other cities do, because we put a big effort in 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9 to do looping in all of our systems. And so we looped and looped and looped dead ends. And what is a dead end is whenever the water just goes and there's nowhere else for it to go. And so what happens is you have problems with your residuals and meeting TCEQ regulations on proper levels when that happens. So we fixed most of ours. Where we have a problem is past Cuates on Henderson Road, where the apartments are. Even though there's a lot of usage at that apartment complex, that's the end of the line. So we have to flush that from time to time. And so you see that happening and people go, they're wasting water. No, we're being sure that the water is got some good movement to do that. The other place we have a problem with it is by Pallet Pro and on that line as it goes south of 1847. As development happens here, we will require them to connect into that subdivision, and it'll resolve that. What happens is, because of the loop system, your residuals stay up because the water's flowing around better, but also the pressure goes up. In our meeting yesterday, people like Harlingen, they have a lot of long lines that just dead end, and so their estimation is in July alone, they wasted 56 million gallons to flush their system because of that. We don't have hardly any. We do about once a month do certain areas. We recently did the high school just because of it's been very little use all summer, so we do some, but our flushing takes 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, not hours. So if this problem becomes where we don't have enough water because of the levels in the river, there's going to be all kinds of problems. Is just what I'm saying is, and it's not going to be Los Fresnos problem, it's gonna be everybody's problem, because when that water doesn't move in the system, which was brought up yesterday as part of the problem with conservation, is you conserve, and you conserve so much that you can't keep your residuals up, and so you no longer sell the water because they're conserving, but you have to open that valve and flush it out on the ground to keep meeting regulations that's required by TCEQ. And it'd been better if people had just used that water rather than put it on the ground. So it's kind of a vicious cycle that can get into that becomes horrible. So that's that. I do have our engineers looking to see, we had talked about it before, what's the ability or extra expense, extra treatment of taking our spent water coming out of our sewer plant and piping it back into our reservoir. What would we have? Was there additional cleaning, chemicals, processes we would have to do that? Quite frankly, it shouldn't be, but I'm not a chemist. I've seen our water come out of our sewer plant. It is very, very, very clean. It has to be because it goes to the Brownsville Ship Channel. Otherwise, it kill the fish. And I know what comes in from the Rio Grande River, and it is very dirty, nasty, horrible. So I don't understand why you can't just put it in there. We're going to treat it anyway. We're not putting it back into our system. We're putting it into our reservoir. If we could do that, just to give you an idea, July, we produced 652,000 gallons a day. We treated out of our sewer plant 544,000 gallons a day. So could you imagine that 544 went back into our water plant? Then our share of Southmost Regional and our share could keep us in business
For a while.
indefinitely.
That's my main, I guess that's my next question in terms, I was looking at page 91. I don't know, are we there yet? I don't wanna-
Yes,
Okay.
what time to go there?
Okay, so perfect. So I know I noticed, like, obviously, when we go into these kinds of scenarios, it may hinder some businesses, right? And I'm just asking because I just saw a sign got put up on my neighborhood for house washing, right? So what happens to that stuff?
In this stage that we will start tomorrow, it doesn't affect those. You can't wash down sidewalk, walkway, driveways, parking lots, tennis courts, or other hard surface areas. And you can't use water to wash down buildings or structures for the purpose of immediate fire protection, so that would go away. It would hurt those people's businesses. To the mayor comment about commercial car wash, under this one, they're still allowed at a commercial car wash to operate. I think it's the next trigger that kicks in would curtail that, which is very bad for a car wash because that's your business. Don't know if we'll
Mobile
get
car washes too, and I'm assuming, right, because they have their tanks and a lot of times they fill up at the houses they're at
Correct.
also.
They can claim that they're filled up at a place outside of our water area. If it's not our water, we really can't control it. How do we know whose water it is? That's another story.
What's the percentage right now as of yesterday, do you know?
21.9.
I believe last week we were at 22.9, and this was Monday, if I'm not mistaken, Monday or Tuesday.
That's the figure they used at the meeting yesterday. So one of the problems is how do you monitor and how do you mostly PD will have to help, and all of us, is education. Because tomorrow we go from 3 days a week, which is standard. So that was just more than that. was just kind of, hey, be aware. Well, now we're going 2 days a week, so south side of Highway 100 is Monday and Friday, and north side Tuesday and Saturday, so we need to all change our sprinklers to have them, and
Maybe this would be a question for the zoning board, and it's a good one to ask, but I know when new houses, all these new developments get put up, almost 90% of the time is St. Augustine grass. Would we be able to kind of recommend to these contractors Bermuda? Just to kind of make sure that we have drought-resistant grasses and we don't have to worry about those sprinklers as much anymore. But is it recommendation from the city? Can we do that recommendation from either the council and or to consider Bermuda grass versus St. Augustine grass?
yeah, you can make recommendations, you can do a lot of stuff. I'm not sure that's advisable. I recently lost all my St. Augustine grass, and so I went to Bermuda, and it takes as much water, so I'm not sure we would be beneficial there. What would help is more xeriscape. You see a lot of the cities do start doing percentage of rock gardens and things like that that don't take irrigation, don't take water.
Mark, on the building of the new homes in town, I've been noticing a lot of the homes putting grass on the new homes, and they're watering on Sundays and on Saturdays, and they're just out there watering it because it's a new home. Is there any way that when we give them the permit that we can let them know and remind them that the hours that they're supposed to be watering that grass if they put it on those homes?
Yes, you can still use, let me try to find it here. Number 8, landscape irrigation variances are available, but customers need to apply in person. Mail, facsimile, or email with their name, address, and where the new landscape is being installed and date of installation. What that's for is for that new yard. If I'm just putting in a new yard last week and now you get these restrictions, it's not fair for them to lose their yard, so they would be given special permission to have a variance for that certain period of time, but it would only be new landscape.
Is that required for the people building the new constructions? Is that something that is heavily stressed, or do they just take it upon themselves? How do we know if they're actually paid for that permit, or is that just something they take a chance on? You know, to save on money, maybe they're not.
I don't understand the question.
Well, it's because I've been seeing, you see, I live on Valle Alto, and so I've been seeing a lot of the new homes pop up, and they're putting grass and they're watering at times that are not allowed. And I know that this question right here states that they can apply for watering new yards, but how do you know that they're actually doing that? Or are they just, you know, like, are they actually getting those permits? Are you seeing those permits? Or are you seeing them acknowledge when they're building these homes that they're going to be doing that they're going to be watering at certain times that are outside of the recommended times that we've stated?
Well, this isn't in effect yet, so we haven't
Okay.
issued any permit. This starts tomorrow. We haven't issued any special permits for watering. So if it's not on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday prior to tomorrow, then they would have been violating, and now it's going to be Monday, Friday, Tuesday, Saturday. So if we see that, then they would be in violation, and we would need to, of course, we're not going to probably cite them. We're going to, because most of it's education.
Education.
We're going to educate people. Now, if someone's standing there and says, no, I'm going to water it anyway, well, then that becomes another issue. But does that answer your question? I mean,
It does.
they
I
do have
was just kinda
permits for
Question, like,
building.
when they come and get the permit to build a house, a contractor, are we giving them this notice, hey, by the way, you're gonna be building, this is what's going on right now with our water, so
Yes.
keep in mind that as you're building the house?
Correct, and we will add this piece, because this is new tomorrow. So we'll add this piece starting tomorrow with those.
And we are going into September, so September is usually a rainy month, so it looks like the summer is kind of ending, so pray that we'll get some rain very soon.
The other piece of that is, that was mentioned is most, the irrigation is done with crops except for your hay fields and sugarcane. Some of those are going by the wayside anyway because they don't have enough allocation to continue. So there's a lot of issues with all of that that's in somebody else's court. But the amount of irrigation required should go down, and so this last 21.9% should last longer than the last 6 months has, from 35 to 21.9.
I know that, I mentioned this last time. I have a little bit of concern when you say that the car washes don't have a problem for allowing them to be washing cars, but let's say that this scenario gets worse. Do we, as a city council, can provide some kind of law that we're gonna stop them from allowing them to wash like 20 cars and 10 cars a day or something like that? Can we apply something like that on a later date? I'm not saying to apply it now, I'm just saying in case the scenario gets worse.
I'll have to look at what the next, I have not, well, I've read it, but I can't recall it. The stage 4, what stage 4 calls for, but I'm pretty sure stage 4 calls, and it'd be the whole valley. I mean, basically, nobody wash cars. But I'll look at that and send that to you. You'll probably have that from when I sent the whole piece before, but I can send it again for what stage 4 calls for.
Are we sharing this information in social media and the webpage and all that?
We'll do that in the morning.
Yeah, I think if anything, like Mark said, it's education, and it shouldn't just be up to the city. Obviously, you guys do everything you can and let everybody know, but if we can go out there, I'm gonna try to find or some, that webpage, just to let people know, hey, it's happening tomorrow. But I think if we all kind of get on it and let the people know, it'll help out everybody.
Mark, as I was coming to the council meeting there at Henderson and Ocean, or Paderes, there's a big old pipe just gushing water out. Is that part of the flushing?
Whereabouts?
Henderson and Paderes.
East Rio Hondo. But
I'm just saying, if we have to flush ours, maybe we can do it at night so it doesn't look so bad,
now, that was discussed yesterday because, people, they don't understand. And one of East Rio Hondo's problem is that's an interconnect for us in case they need water and we can give it to them. We can turn a valve there, or if they need water, or vice versa, however I said it. But their line dead ends there, and so ours does not. Ours goes on, but there's dead ends there, and so the residual problem, that's probably why they were flushing it, to get the residual up. But yes, it's a bad look, but
Yes, that's, has nothing to do with the one that you're talking about, the drainage pipe under the railroad that collapsed. You mentioned there, drainage pipe under the railroad track, North Henderson Road, is collapsed.
no, that's drainage.
Branches. And also, just to mention that we got a good piece of cake here, so it was a good piece of cake on the 843,000. The
Drainage grant,
yeah, the
loan forgiveness.
drainage grant.
Yes.
Well, Mark, I don't know if there's more on the water that you have to discuss or give to us. I love the picture you sent to us, about the water plant. that's beautiful for me. And infrastructure is something very key to me. And so when I saw that up and running, you know, we went, took a visit, mayor invited us, you invited us. It's, I love to see transformations like that. And maybe if we can get to work on that reservoir, and maybe we can work on something to provide the future growth or sustain that future growth, because I know we're growing and we're going to need more water. And if we can open up that extra reservoir and maybe be able to retain some of that, I'm all for it.
Mark, where are we at with the East 10th and East 5th Street sewer project?
See the last paragraph on page 89.
So by changing those lines, we're gonna facilitate a little bit better, or are we taking pressure off of that lift station? Is it too much?
No, not off of that lift station, but off of the line. There's more capacity in the other one, and we're hoping that that'll stop the back flow to there on East 10th Street.
Is there
where the
any,
cul-de-sac is.
but it won't stop, sewer services and other stuff like that? I'm assuming would be no, good?
No, we're just, there's a huge line that comes from this development here. And so we're gonna tie into that one instead of the existing there. So it's separated from that, and there's not huge flows coming from this area. And so we're hoping that by just moving where it dumps into the gravity line, will change the flow so that what happens is that area is so low that they had to put that line, and this was back in the 80s, I guess. They put that sewer line way too high. They should not have approved that. So today we have to deal with it. So because of that, you don't get the drop that you need to get. Now we're going to another line further and a bigger line, and so we feel, and the engineer feels, that we'll have the drop. A backup phase, if that doesn't do all of it, or maybe it does all of it, we're great. If it does partial, we can connect that line up back one block, the backside, and you'll have a one-way valve, and we'll let it, if it backs up, we'll let it back up into that big line as well. And that way it doesn't come out of the ground, out of a manhole, or into someone's tub in the last house or two, if that makes sense.
Mark, it wasn't on the list here, but what's the status on that lift station at Henderson? You said you were waiting for some signatures from the state?
Yeah, it's, number one, A, the wastewater collection system upgrade, that loan, they still haven't given us the approval. It's that sewer line that goes down 100 and also Quatas lift station. Texas Water Development Board is the funding agency, and they have not given us the approval to start construction. Y'all have approved the contract, and the contract is ready to go.
This time, is there any more questions, or anybody want to acknowledge the city manager's reports? If there is no more questions.
I
So-
move that we approve the city manager's report as stated and discussed.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded by the council. With that said, all those in favor signify by saying aye
Yes,
and
I-
raising your
I have
hand.
it.
Aye. And those who oppose do the same. Motion carries.
Okay, I was gonna say I had a discussion, but never mind. You make the motion, then you said, any discussion, and I raised my voice, but you can hear.
I'm sorry I asked and waited.
Yeah, I know you asked, but you didn't hear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to acknowledgement of department head reports. Any questions or motions?
The only thing I have a concern with is the running off of the reports, somewhere along the line, I don't know what PowerPoint they were using, but the last line got cut off on all of them. It just needs to pay more attention before they're sent out next time, so that we have a complete report. If you look at the right-hand side of the report, everything is cut off, those figures.
On the finance, we'll do that. I think it's just the finance.
It just looks sloppy.
We'll do that.
Is there a motion to be made? Or any more questions before we move to the motion?
I move that we accept the department heads' reports.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded by the council. With that said, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Moving on to budgets. It's a budget workshop, fiscal year 2022, 2023. Mark, would you like to lead us on this? If any of the council don't have a problem, I'm okay with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope
Thank
you feel better.
Okay, I've given you two documents. One, I just wanted to show the consumer price index. Y'all probably hear that in the news. We talked a little bit about last year, some base pay increases versus what consumer price index is. And what that is what your money's worth. And so, of course, everybody's feeling it right now because of the price of everything has gone out the roof. Year to date in 2022, we're at 8.6%. So you can see that it not quite doubled. Hopefully we are seeing some relief in some gas prices. So hopefully over the next few months, you'll see some relief in other things, not guaranteed, but maybe we'll end up with a less than 8.6 by the end of this year. But just showed you that to kind of keep that in the back of your mind. And All that does is you keep up where if people's pay increases the same as the consumer price index, their quality of life doesn't diminish. Anytime it's less than that, you have to give up something. So the next sheet, I made it big and I put everything on one page so everybody can see it. The first part is really not anything changing, but I just thought it's something you should know. Our lifeguards are just seasonal, part-time, and we begin them at 10, and the second year they go to 11. And then after that, it's just if the city gives a raise, they get that raise. But between that first and second year, we give a bump so that hopefully we can retain them for a few years. Communication officers, as our current policy is, the minimum pay is $14 per hour. And then after 6 months, they meet their probationary period, they get 50-cent raise. And then also upon certification, they get a 50% raise. And that's a TCO license. When did that come in? 4 years ago? 3 years ago. So it's pretty rigorous. They have to have certification, so we acknowledge that, and if they don't get it, they don't pass their probationary either. So basically after about 6 months, they should be making $15. Police officers, our current policy is minimum pay is $18. You did that 2 years ago. And the assignment pay that we've had for quite a long time is an extra 50 cents for code enforcement or CID, $1, or supervisor, $1. That's just current policy, just so you'll know. As we get into police department, I was asked to look specifically at police because of what's been going on in our country. As you can see, there's some examples of different rates from the chief, assistant chief, and commander. Not everybody will give us that information. Sometimes we can get it at different places, but I used a few of them that were like Brownsville. It wasn't called assistant chief, but it's called something else. But as you can see, it's still way up there compared to ours. And so those shaded ones are not exactly assistant chief or commander, but they're, maybe they call them a lieutenant, or maybe they call them a sergeant, something else. They are higher anyway. We do not compare with Border Patrol or DPS or Homeland Security because they would be way too much out of range. So what we'd like to do is keep in range with our surrounding areas. And you can see proposed at the bottom with the chief, with the assistant chief, and the commander. You can see they're about midpoint. We try to do midpoint as much as possible. And then the officers, about the same thing. You can see that we're 18. The school district, which we're, is now 19 officers strong. Depending on their experience, they're $20.70 to $26 an hour. Brownsville 21 and change, Harlingen 22 and change, Port Isabel 19 something, Rancho Viejo 19, San Benito 1945. They're all going up too. Talking with the chief and assistant chief and commander, we'd like to propose $20 for them. It's a huge hit for our budget, but we do have more revenue, as you noticed in the property tax. And so we would like to, we actually have developed a budget with being able to make these increases as they're listed. I'll be glad to take any comments on the police department
Mark, on the officer salary, on the proposed salary of 20, would that also include the 50-cent increase for code enforcement and the dollar for an hour for CID and supervisor? Would it be plus that?
Yes. So where it's just up above where I read that off on current policy, the minimum pay would go from 18 to 20. And so we would take everybody basically, I might be already making 18.36 because I got a increase that you gave last year, 3%. Well, then I would get $2 from there. And so it'd be a $2 on all the hourly would be $2. And then the chief, assistant chief, and commander would be those rates.
Now, the CPI as of last month was 9.1, and it's crazy we're talking about it. It's going to come out tomorrow morning at 7:30 Central Standard Time, and it's predicted to come in at 8.7. So that's the most latest figures on CPI. With that said, inflation has been very hard on everybody. It's been hitting them in their pockets personally, and I'm just so happy to see that the people in our city who are taking the most risk are getting compensated for that. And I just want to make sure that this is what they're comfortable with. This is what they want. And I support them 100%. So I just wanted to make that quick comment.
Just so you know, my goal was to get to 21 this year, but because of the dollar value and, other budget needs, we can't get there this year. So, we can take a good step, and actually, I think the police department recommended 20, and I was pushing for 21.
I would have said 22. But, we are getting some more businesses. We're getting some more,
Sure.
more revenue coming in next year. And so the future does look bright for these increases. And we can finally keep good quality police officers instead of losing them to a school or another city. So I just wanted to add that.
Have you been asked, or have you been told by, you don't have to say any names, but the stress of, I may have to go to another city kind of a deal? Is that something that you've heard in our department?
Oh, yes, I currently have some officers applying elsewhere.
Juan, come on up, Juan, please. Thank you.
Yes, I currently have officers that are applying elsewhere to Brownsville.
Go ahead and press the mic. Sorry about that, Mike. Sorry.
There we go. Yes, we currently have a couple officers applying in other cities, whether it's Brownsville, Harlingen PD, and DPS. I have a couple of guys that are pending Border Patrol, and I'm losing one this coming week to Border Patrol, one of my code enforcement officers. We can't compete with the federal government, but nevertheless, we try to retain the officers as best as we can, and by getting them a higher pay, we can retain those officers and keep them here. Not only that, keeping them here and losing them to a school district that's paying more than what we pay at this time currently.
So with this said, do you think you have a good, strong chance to keep people on the force instead of
yes.
losing people?
When the school went up in manpower this fiscal year, due to the Uvalde incident, I really thought I was going to lose a couple guys to the school district. I'm very fortunate to keep them. Of course, we always talk to them that we go to the table during budget and propose an increase, and hopefully it goes well, and you do agree with the increase to keep these officers for the retention portion of it.
Now, with that said, let's say that you have existing officers who are in higher ranks, like sergeant and lieutenant. I noticed that they're not listed in here. Will their pay increase as well, or will they get an increase markup?
I'm sorry, I didn't explain that at the beginning. That's a good question. I did the 3 because they're salary. The rest of them are hourly. So what this reflects is a $2 increase. So wherever their point is today, if they're making $22.64 today, they'll increase to $24.64. Does that make sense? So every hourly police officer will be an increase of $2. The 3 that I listed here, I listed separate because they're salary. We abuse them and make them work all these hours. No.
No.
But with those hourly ones, that's a great question. I didn't explain it well. They all get $2.
I like that.
And their pay is already separated because of tenure and what their rank is now. So we've got them anywhere from 18 to 24, and so now it'll go 20 to 26 or somewhere in that range.
Just to confirm, so it's gonna be the 20% increase for the ones on salary and the $2 for the ones in hourly rate?
Yeah, these rates at the proposed, at the bottom, that would be the chief, assistant chief commander, and then the officers.
And I like that because last year, we didn't give any raises to the chief, the assistant chief, or the commander. So
Right.
I like that we are taking this step to compensate them for their hard work.
They did mention that. So, good for me to move to finance?
I'm sorry, Mark, what was that again?
Good to me to move to the next block?
Do you need a vote from us?
No, this is, unless
in
y'all
regards to this.
tell me different, you don't
sorry.
vote on each one if,
Yes, I'm sorry, it's the
If-
police department, so we'll move on to
I'm
finance.
assuming that you're agreeing and we're gonna go on. If you don't, I need to know so that we can change the budget.
Does anybody have any questions about the police department information that we've just shared or talked about? This is the time.
And on the, Los Frenos, when it says chief, assistant chief, what is the amount that you're recommending for the chief?
See below where it says proposed at the bottom?
81
Yeah,
and 70 for the assistant?
yes. And that's about the midpoint of, you can see the others that are there, the ones that we got.
Okay, so you did a comparison with the ones in Brownsville, Harlingen, or?
Right, we know that we're not gonna touch Brownsville, Harlingen, but we can get close and we can treat them much better than they're treated there, so they'll stay here.
We should get them South Padre Island pay, that'd be nice.
We need a few more businesses here, sir.
And we do understand that.
Okay,
I mean,
thank you. Yeah, I'll just,
They're, you can't touch those.
Any other questions? I'm good to move on unless anybody else wants to ask another question. Commissioner Munoz, if you have anything else you'd like to share?
no, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
The next one, and I didn't make a final decision on this, wanted some input from you. Director of Finance, he didn't get any increase last year. You can see where he is, and then Brownsville, McAllen, South Padre Island, you can see they're higher, which would be true to every position that we have. However, you know, a place like La Feria, and even San Benito, we're not quite as big as San Benito, but we're getting close. San Juan, but that person doesn't have a degree, but, I think the range should be between 75 and 85,000. I don't know if you have a particular area in
Right in the middle?
the middle. I was thinking the middle, but I wanted your input on that.
I think so. He's done a great job. He's always here when we need him. He answers any questions that we have. I know he runs some training programs where he's involved, and he's gotten several certifications that are pretty hard to get. Not to mention he's got 15 years of experience, and an educational degree. So it's talent like that we like to keep in our city.
We'll do that at 80, and he will be very pleased. The next is,
All right, 1 second there, Mark, because I'm running the numbers, right? So we're giving the police force about an 8% increase, right? That's what I was calculating from, let's say, 80, from 75 to 81, or something like that, right? Sorry, 71,000 to 81, so it's 3%, or sorry, 8% roughly in there. Let me give you the correct number.
Yeah.
It's a 16% increase.
16%.
Yeah, because I was looking at they're getting like 10-ish, like the chief is getting 10, assistant's getting 10, más o menos. So on the salary for the director, I will give him 10 as well, so on this, like on the 75. But that's me.
don't look at what it was, because what it was might not have been fair in the median, and so to get to the median would be about 80. Does that makes sense? Because just because there might be one employee that they were already higher paid than what the peers were versus where they go, and one of them lower for whatever reason. Does that make sense? So that's why you can't treat everyone across the board 9 or 10,000, and because
Yeah, the way I was seeing it is, I wasn't putting one up or one down, or like on the sheet was 71, and he went 81.
That's a
So I
15
see like a 10.
That's a 15%
And a
increase.
61 to 70, I see like a 10, so, and then a 51 to a 90, 59, I see like a 10. That's what I'm looking at.
The
I'm not
police
saying
officer-
that 10, I'm just saying that I look at it that way.
Chief,
So,
assistant
yeah,
chief
salary
would
on
come-
that was 68, so 75 will go almost
It's about a 15, 16%
13.
increase on,
13%.
they're 15, this particular is 16, but they're right in between less than 1%. So it's about a 15 to 16% increase all across the board. I mean, I'm okay with giving the chief, the assistant chief, and the commander that extra 1% above. I mean, if we have to make it 16, even 16%. Because they're getting 15,
Well,
finance
I'd like
gentleman's
to,
getting
but
16.
I'd like to run numbers too, right? We can't just go ahead
Well,
and do that, and I
those are the numbers.
appreciate
Those are
everything.
the
the
numbers.
coach-
I just ran them. I ran all of them. I ran the difference, the percentages. They're 15, and the director of finance is 16, so those are the numbers.
So your suggestion to do the
So-
16%
On
To the
PD
chief,
as
that
well?
1 extra percent for the PD so that it matches
that
with the
way it can
director
be
of
the
finance.
director of finance 60%.
16, so it's just a 1%
The
increase.
shift and the commander the 16%.
Yes, keep them all across the board even.
you follow that?
Yeah.
And then that follows what you were saying, Juan, it'd be all equal then? Okay.
It's not a big change, but it's a little
No.
extra, and it'd be right in line.
Cool, we will do that. The next block is 3 employees that we need to change. One is the accounting and billing supervisor. Just that position is requiring more and more, and so we'd like to move that up just $1.59 to $20. And then the accountant clerk from 15 to 18. And then the library clerk we started her very low, but she's becoming a kind of an assistant, and so we want to groom her and give her $1 so she'll stay. In the future, she might move into something. Not to say Angie's leaving anytime, or I don't want her to leave anytime, but if she does, we have somebody that's if you've met her, she's very, very good.
I met her, she's very good.
So we'd like to do that.
She's always involved. I know they had that little story reading thing that we had at the park, and a couple of other events, and, you know, she's always there. She's always helping out. Does any of the council have any questions or comments about those accounting and billing, accounting clerk or clerk?
I agree on the raise on the 20 and 18 and 13.
Thank you, Mark. We can move on.
Public Works, wastewater and water certifications, we addressed this back in 2017, so Juan you might be able to remember it, but one of the problems with wastewater and water certification is that that group is aging, and I'm not talking about us here, because actually we've gotten younger here recently over the last, since 2017. But in the industry around the state of Texas is the people that hold the license for running water and wastewater plants. I can't remember the percentage, but it was up there close to the 70s or higher and above, that were within 3 to 5 years of retirement across the state, which is pretty scary when you think about something as important as when you turn on the faucet, you need good, clean water. When you flush the toilet, you need it to leave. So we made a change in 2017, and we have several licenses that people get certified for, and you can see there a collection that deals with water. I'm sorry, that deals with sewer, the collection, because we're collecting it. The distribution is delivering water to your residents, so that's distribution. So those two get certifications. There's a C certification and a B certification. So in 2017, we said we would do a range from 13 to 16 for both of those. And a C certification is not quite as high as a B. In our system, we don't need an A. If we were at a large city, we would need an A, but we only need Bs. Cs are good for the distribution part, and also Cs are good for an operator as long as you have a operator B ahead of you. So we did those ranges for 13 to 16, and then the operator C, which can run either the water plant if they're licensed or the sewer plant if they're licensed, we did 15 to 18 if they had one or either the sewer plant certification or the water plant. Then the next one over we did for double certifications. So I might be certified in water and sewer, both C level, or maybe I have a water C and a sewer B. And so we gave that range 17 to 20. Nobody's really doing that, and because that was done in 2017, we are now 5 years later. On the right column, what we propose is to change it a little bit and have a base rate of 19. So if I hired a new person, we'd hire them at 19. Once they get their collection, either their distribution C, they would get $1. And then if I got a B, say I just got my C and then I tested and I received my B, I would lose my $1, but I'd get $1.50 because it helps us to be certified in both, because we have a problem in the water line somewhere. That's distribution, he can go there, but I got a problem in the sewer line, I can go send him there too. And if he's got both of them, I don't have to worry about, well, he's not certified. So that gets $1.50. The operator C is kind of like an apprentice to an operator B. We have to have by law an operator B, one for sewer and one for water. And so what we want to do is, if we can get these people to get a C's, like Raul has been, and now he's got his C, he's ready to start testing for his B, he would be $2. And so if I got my sewer $2 and my water $2, I get $2 here and $2 here. And so that would go $19, $20, $21 to $23 for that certification. If I got my operator B, which is what I would love for us to have all of our Bs. And that way, if I lose one guy, it doesn't matter, because I got another guy that's operator B. Because if you only have one, and in the old days, Carlos was that guy, he was the only one, and something happened to him, we would immediately have to go out and contract with somebody, subcontract to use their B license until we got somebody hired or certified. We don't want that to happen, so that's what I'm working forward here, is to have all of our guys to have the B. And it's become very competitive. People that have a guy, they want to keep them, and so I don't want to lose them. We did lose one guy about 3 months ago, but he lived in Raymondville, so he got a job in Lyford. So it wasn't all for pay, but I think if we had a better pay, it would have been more enticing for him to stay. But after he was driving that for like 4 years, so I think there's some of that we can't compete with if you live somewhere else. But this will set us up the way we setting up PD in order to retain these folks and keep these folks. Several reasons to keep them. If someone's gone, someone's on vacation, we don't dip or anything. Everybody's got the same knowledge and can still run the operation when they're not here. And so it puts us as a city in a lot better situation.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I would agree with the proposal. And also, a lot of people don't really see what these people do up there, and it's not easy, you know. They have the time to rake and stuff like that, but I mean, it's something that they have to be tiptoes up there, and it's, not everybody knows what goes in there, so, and we've been there, I've gone a couple of times. And
Been there, done that.
It takes a lot of,
The other piece that I didn't talk about is the new water plant has become, it'll be totally automated, and so that becomes a different level of importance.
Would that need a different license, once it's all?
No, same license, but just, you need to be, you don't have to be a computer whiz or anything, but you got to understand how to do programs and how to work a lot of that. So that's why Raul has been very engaged in that and very involved in that, is he can handle that piece of it. And we have a couple others that are have their C right now that are going to test and hopefully get to the B. And it's just the old days you tested it and, oh, let me put a little bit more. I mean, it wasn't as simple as that, but I mean, they use science to do it, but it wasn't like you turn a knob to put more chemicals in there like it's going to be now. So anyway, it'll put us in a good position.
Would that require more personnel or?
No more
Just what we
personnel,
have.
just retraining and little different, higher level.
Well, I can't approve or do anything with this due to nepotism, so I will leave that to you guys.
Just so you know, since Carlos is, I know because of that, he's director, so he's not here. He's on a different level.
Thank you very much, Mark, and then I can
It's
take
the
action.
guys that are hourly. I should have said that to begin with.
'Cause I heard B and I heard him, so I'm figuring
I mentioned him because he's
the one that was always
supervisor.
there, yeah.
He's not included here because he holds, since he's salaried and a director, these are the hourly employees and the certifications that we'll pay the stipend for. We're good there?
We're good. I'm good with Public Works. Everybody else on the council good with?
Contract labor position, we've got Public Works that does utilities, but it also does parks and streets and stuff. So we had 4 people that were on contract labor that we used just because we don't have to pay insurance and all that for them. Carlos's recommendation is, because of the people that were doing certifications, I don't need that extra helper there for the water and sewer plant. I need it at parks. We've added Nature Park. Now we're adding this trail that we're gonna have to maintain. And so we want to move. Doesn't cost us any more, but we just want to reposition that position. And so that's what that is.
Just a question, since you mentioned the parks and this is where we're moving the position to. Just a question on that trail. So that person would be in charge. So let's say the neighborhood back here behind 10th Street. So when they clear, do we clear to their fence line? Because that's a property line, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's it.
And they will mow just that. It's like most people are going to mow behind. Well, not most people. Some people will mow behind because they don't like it to get high, but we're going to have to keep that because of the trail. And so that, not necessarily this particular person, but the group of people now will need to have one more because of the addition.
Now, with these people, because you put parks, does that mean would they be monitoring like Memorial Park and the park and making sure everything is good? Because I know like on the swings at the park where the baseball fields are, I've got a lot of concerns that they need to fill in right there where the kids go up and down. So they're in charge of making sure that that everything is good, the nets are good on the basketball courts and making those changes.
Correct. They're working right now on Memorial Park, doing the same thing on the
The cement
Mulch.
on that, yeah, or that mulch.
and
on
the mulch underneath the swing set there. And I think we're gonna have enough to maybe do the other, so we'll see.
Thank
In the
you.
current budget, not future budget.
No, thank you.
I'm gonna skip the IT because I want Dale to address it. Right below that is add certified water wastewater operator part-time position. Back to the one that I just talked to about Public Works. We have an opportunity right now, gentleman, he's retired from us, but he'd like to help out as needed. And you might say, well, why would you do that? Well, number one, he knows our system inside and out. And when somebody goes on vacation or someone's sick, we don't have to have a void there. We can, hey, can you fill in for 2 weeks while so-and-so's on vacation? And then our level, we don't have to worry about our operation level suffering on that. So part-time position that we'd like to add, and because he's got the certifications, it'll be at that rate.
How many hours do you predict a month for them to work, if any?
We average no more than 20 hours a week. But it might be that I don't work any for 2 weeks and then someone's on vacation and I would work a week, he would work a week to fill in. Or someone's sick for 2 or 3 days, you know, one day you can kind of cover, maybe 2 or 3 days you can call, hey, can you help out? Yeah. The bottom is, then we'll go back to the IT tech, is the remaining employees receive 3% cost of living adjustment.
Mark, what's the average pay for that area? Like, what are they making on those remaining employees? What's the average salary or hourly wage?
You moved those up last year, remember?
Was it about 13, if I'm not mistaken?
Probably now a little higher than that because of what you moved up.
Because I calculated 13 on a 40-hour work week, only a $15 increase, and that's not even including taxes. So that would probably leave them like $8 a week in extra pay on a 3% increase. So I'm not sure if there's any little bit more wiggle room that we have in our budget to maybe give these people a little extra, because, you know, CPI is at 8.7%. So they're really not getting much help on that. But I mean, I'm not sure how much leeway we have in the budget. Like to go to maybe even 5 or something like that. I don't know if that would be possible.
Let me throw this. The difference between these adjustments that above and the 3% level would be an additional 37,588.
In
So
total, in total, right?
in total.
Okay.
So the 3% really would cost the city 37,588. So if the percentage by a third, 1% would be about 12.5, next bit another 12.5. It doesn't actually equal that because of the way the percentage works, but so if you're to increase that, we would theoretically at another 12.5, you would, we could take it from, what I did is I backloaded streets, even though we're getting ready to do another street project that we already have funding out of this, but just in general, I put, and the reason I'm going to tell you is so that you'll know if you want to do that, where it would come from. Yeah, we could do, easily 4%, because I had originally set I wanted to set $100,000 aside for street projects. Hey, we need to do this street. It needs to be done now. It can't be waited anymore. And we're just gonna do that one-off street for whatever reason. So that's why I put the 100. When we finished the budget and all these adjustments, we had an extra 15,598. So that would take care of the additional 1% if you went to 4. The other, I could take it from additional from there, but also know that some of that will come from water and sewer. So it might be that you end up about half from water and sewer and about half from the general fund, because also in water and sewer, we also put some street money in there because we used to not do that, but unfortunately, they're the ones that ruin our streets sometimes whenever a sewer line's in the middle of the street and it's a leak and they dig it up. And so we put money in there to address that. And so I'm looking for, and so we could pull it from there if we needed to, if you went between the 4 and the 5, and we could do it and not really affect the overall.
And I know it's a hard conversation because, you know, it's hard to take care of everybody, but 3% seems very minimal. And anything extra we can give them, even if it's a 1% more, you know, I just want to make sure they get some extra compensation because everything is just so expensive these days.
I can work in the 1 or 2% extra.
If the
And
board is
still
good with
make
that,
our
I'm not
budget.
sure what the board has to say about that, but are you in agreement with that or any comments?
I'm comfortable with what Mark's recommending right now with 2%. And we'll look into it later. We can probably give him another raise later.
So you're comfortable with adding 2%, right? Is that correct, Commissioner? All right, thank
He
you.
mentioned the 3%.
No, there's 3% here, and I talked about adding 2. Is that what you mentioned, or going just with this number? Okay, just with the 3, okay. So again, I'm just trying to, I'm aware that CPI number is pretty high, and it's gonna be high for a while, and 3% really doesn't do much, but that's just my opinion. And just trying to see if I can get them a little extra, but it's up to the board in general.
I'll recommend the 4, that way it won't affect too much, and then we can
Yeah, because
reevaluate.
I'm afraid of us increasing, and Mark would have to worry about that too, right? So he prepared all of this for this, and I'm definitely okay with that 4%.
Yeah, Mark said he could cover 1% without too much problems.
It would be very easy, the 1%, the other percent I could do as well. You might ask, well, why didn't you do 4 or 5% to begin with? Because the history of the council has been, anytime I get over 3, they get nervous, even with the CPI. So I did that for, what do you call it?
Preventative measures, I guess you were already used to it, huh?
But yes, you're right, Mr. Lopez. 4 is easy because I took that amount that would be and put it there in the streets because, hey, that's the best place to do it. We're always needing streets. So I can do it that easy. But also, and what I mentioned is there's a lot of folks who get paid out of sewer. So if 1% is about $12,000 or $13,000, I won't use all of that street money. I can use, so you go 2%, it will use all that 12 and then do the same on water and sewer, which I can do the same thing on the street money there. So I can do it either way.
I believe 4% is then what we're agreeing to.
4% is the number? I mean, if that's, as long as they're getting a little something extra, I'm happy.
Cool. Last thing is IT position, and wanted Dale to speak to it.
So as you may or may not know, I started working for the city in 2011 or 2009, I'm not sure. But anyway, in that time frame, we have really focused on becoming top tier as far as our technology is concerned. I've been the only employee in that whole time. And I have requested this year that we add a full-time, basically help desk position. Right now, I have 74 end-user PCs, not to mention 16 servers, 3 server rooms, 4 locations that we manage. We have cameras everywhere. We have network infrastructure that we manage. We manage our own Active Directory and Exchange services. We don't do a lot in the cloud because we're not quite big enough for that yet. So everything that we do is basically managed in-house. This person would be responsible for the day-to-day things. You know, like I can't remember my password, or I can't log into my email, or I can't print, or I can't fax, or whatever comes up. This would be an on-site, hands-on position that would handle most of the end-user things so that I can focus on infrastructure, firewall, best practices, basically move to a management position, which is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I can give you the job description if you'd like, or any questions I can answer.
I'll say that, you know, we've moved a long ways in IT, and it's just the next step. When you have that many users and that much electronic equipment, we need somebody that has a hands-on, no different than any other department. I say it like we wouldn't ever consider that Hector would be out giving tickets and patrolling the neighborhood. Not to say that he can't, or not to say he shouldn't from time to time, or the assistant chiefs. Same way as with any directors, there's things that they really need to be doing as far as looking at our bigger picture than fixing password problems or printing problems, and those come up just constant. And so that's why we're really hopeful, and I think each department will be very happy.
Now, this position, I understand that a lot of times you don't have to be working here. You can be at home doing stuff, just log in on a network and take care of that need. So do you think that having a full-time position would be good, or maybe a part-time position would be even better? Because how many hours do they spend here working, or is it most of the time from home and just?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I am the one that's doing it currently. I was never intended to be here full-time. I'm asking for a person on site full-time. They would be my resource. Sometimes things would escalate to me because they wouldn't be as familiar with some of the infrastructure that we have. But a lot of times it's as, you know, we have wiring, we have all kinds of hands-on things. And it's really comforting for people on site if a guy comes and stands in front of them for a little bit. And they give, you know, we can train better that way. We can teach some of the things. A lot of times, I'll be honest with you, what happens is somebody calls and says, I have this problem. I jump in, I fix the problem. There is no end user training that happens. I'm just trying to move on to the next thing. So this would eliminate some of that. Cybersecurity is a big deal, and we really need to do a better job of training in that avenue. And the truth is, there's only so much time in the day, and all of these things get added to it. And having somebody on staff, on site, would change a lot of things for us. 74 end users is a lot of end users. And then we also have IP phones, we have cameras, we have your guys' stuff that you deal with. Hopefully that would help in that area as well. It's odd to not have somebody on site, especially when there could be catastrophic things that happen. And having somebody on site to shut down servers immediately at my direction would be very advantageous to what we deal with. So,
Can you address a little bit about the different specialties and maybe you don't want to go there, but
Yeah, I don't mind going there.
we've talked, because I think it paints a different picture than most people think IT, and they don't realize the complexity of it and the specialties that most companies have.
Right, and IT department is a catchphrase for everything, but you have help desk, you have technicians, you have network infrastructure engineers, you have software experts. I mean, all of these different things. Plus, we add AV to our spec for us. Audiovisual is on us. IP phones is on us, and normally that's handled by several different departments inside of IT in most big companies. Small companies do it like we're doing it, but it requires somebody to have a broad range of knowledge of a lot of different disciplines in IT. I am not the best IT guy there is. I'm hoping to hire someone better than me. As far as the end user experience is concerned, my job is to cast vision, develop networks, develop infrastructure so that we can continue to grow as a company or as a business, so that we're always at the cutting edge. And that's suffered recently because I have so many end users that require hands-on attention. So I would like to go back to doing that.
And will
this
this
would allow
position
that.
be open to the public? Are you gonna put like a public, position to open and interview candidates and stuff? Okay.
Let me ask you this, with all the technology and social media, would this person be in charge also of taking that, like social media? I know that Jackie does that, but she does 100 things more. So would that person be also in charge of promoting a little bit more the city
So that's
events or everything that we have here?
that's one of the things that is a misnomer. You don't really want an IT guy doing marketing. We're not real good at it. I'm not really, I have a lot of hats, but marketing is something that is specialized. It's something, the CDC is involved in, the chamber's involved in, the city's involved in it, but marketing is a specialty. Building websites is that's a whole different department. I mean, they could do content uploads. They could do, they could certainly assist, but to develop content is not something I would want this person doing, from my perspective.
But we could assign that person, hey, I'm gonna give you this,
Right.
you put it where it has to go.
Right. They can do the technical installation of the content, but the developing it, I would not want them doing. At least not most of the IT guys I know.
Maybe that can be, I'm sorry, before I forget.
Yes.
Maybe that can be another topic for the CTC, because I feel that we are lacking a little bit more social media marketing.
Well, because city
improvement.
secretaries are also not marketing directors, and I mean,
No, not talking,
we
no.
all do the best we
But-
can, but
yes, definitely.
we're wearing more hats than we
Jackie
probably
does everything, I
qualified
know,
for.
but I'm talking about the CTC area. I think
Right.
that we are here to support the local businesses and to help them grow. And we really need somebody to be specialized in that area.
Yeah, and that's the problem when we're this size. We're just big enough to really need a lot of content and a lot of things, but we're also not big enough to have a department that does that. And it's really difficult when we're growing as rapidly as we're growing, but also not big enough.
And we
yet.
know that you guys do an amazing job. Jackie, you do everything. I know it's not because of that, but with the growth of our city that it's growing without us doing anything, I think that will be a good option to start working on that.
Well, I think we all agree it could use some more energy, yes.
I'll get with CDC. I think they would be very happy to take care of that ball.
Yes, yeah, that would be a good option. Maybe they can present something, that way we can have a project.
Any other questions for Mr. House here from the council that you would like to have answered in regards to the $20 an hour full-time position needed?
Is that gonna be an add-on or is that gonna be placed on, for discussion on the position for that, or how's that gonna work?
No, all of these I have included in the budget. And so if you take them out, then I have to do something
TAC
different.
full-time position?
Huh?
Is that the TAC, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
They're all included in the budget and we're already funded, can be funded.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Yeah. The reason why I start on employees, number one, I think they're our greatest asset. We take care of them and then we go through the rest of the budget and move things as accordingly to how you see fit and
Thank you.
the different things.
Very good, Mr. House. Thank you very much for being here.
I didn't see it here, and I don't know if it would be here, but, you know, we've gotten by with, our lawyer with a $25 raise in the last, I don't know, century that he's worked here, I think. And if we're gonna be looking at a new lawyer in about 3 years, then could you give us a breakdown as to what other lawyers that work for the cities, what they charge per hour? And then maybe we can start looking at that, and so it won't be, because I got a feeling that in 3 years, 150 ain't gonna cut it.
I will do that. Can I wait till after budget and another 3 or 4 months?
Sure.
But I won't forget it. It probably will be higher. Henry does it because he's here. There will be a lot of higher charges. I'm gonna tell you, when I first got here, my first year, the attorney was $55,000, and that wasn't anything to do with court. I mean, he would call you and the timer started and you would see it and talk to Mark from 2:22 to 2:35, and so there would be a bill for that. Jackie was talking about the other day, you know, she calls him a lot for advice, and we don't ever get billed for that kind of stuff. So that's gonna happen unless we find someone that is like Henry. But that is a good point to be aware of, because I'm serious, that was 2005, my first year. It was $55,000 about, and he didn't do nothing. So we changed that very quickly and had to pare that down.
And Mark, with all due respect, same thing with the city manager position. So you are very critical to this, to the city. And, you know, having somebody that you can groom and, you know, a couple of years here would be very important, because city managers are also going up in pay. And so, you know, we know that you love the community, it shows, but maybe at some point, maybe consider adding some kind of administrative assistant that has a role to play in the near future, to be your shadow. Because a lot of times, if you're not here, Jackie does a great job of stepping up, but there's only certain things that she can do that only you can do. And it's a little concerning sometimes, knowing that, you know, you could get a heart attack or something, you know, and God forbid it happens, but just trying to, those unknown factors are, you know, nobody can step into your shoes right now.
Thank you for that, but I think some could. But nevertheless, what I'm trying to build in this, if you can see through finance, police, and what we did with city secretary last year, and the IT and the public works, is develop to where one doesn't make a difference. And so, yes, that needs to come here. Probably there's a little of me that, you know, you don't want to give, you know, stuff away, although I'm giving more and more away all the time to the different department heads. But it helps them to learn too. Sometimes Hector or Juan will say, "What are we doing this for?" And it's because it's just helping me about something, but that really has nothing to do with police department, but they're glad to do it. So yes, we'll work on that.
Thank you, Mark.
I've got 4 other things that we can hit real quick, and it'll make next week a lot easier, if that's okay. I don't think it'll take us very long. Jackie, if you can do this and I can start talking faster. Because I don't think it'll take us just a few minutes. There'll be 4 areas that we'll look at, and that's the first one. Here, Jackie. Don't hand this out, but you can have it, so it'll be ready. The first one is CDC, and they've approved this budget in their meeting last week. As you can see, the first part is sales tax. That's how they're funded. If you didn't know a lot about CDC, last year we brought in 518,000 and some change. We budgeted 510 because we just want to be conservative. We're going to hit 540. It looks like more like 545,000. And so we're budgeting this year, that far right column, 560. That's a 3.7% increase over the 540. We haven't had anything near that low, so I still think it's conservative because it's going to be even more conservative because we're hitting more than 540. The other thing we get is a little bit of interest, so that's not much. The first part is salaries, and that's just a part-time person that works to handle details for the CDC. For myself, for Desi. We do put a little bit of money for attorney. We've never used it, but we put $500. It's about a quarter of the way down. Auditor, the CDC pays part of the auditing that y'all contract with, and we have 1 more year left on that 3-year contract. Professional services is Desi. Business recruitment and development is the chamber, stuff that they do. Office supplies is what it is, just paper and stuff like that. Advertising and city promotion and advertising, the next one is 48,000 and 8,000. That directly ties to sales tax. It can't be more than 10%. So that's why that's there. They don't have to use it all. That's just to promote the city in different ways. Stock show, rodeo, Conjunto festival, fireworks, Christmas festival in the park. Those come out of that. Then we got some travel that I have to get some certifications, dues and memberships, special projects, and that's what they use to hold because, hey, if business comes in and needs some assistance on a gas line or moving electrical or doing some kind of infrastructure, they have that $279,000 available. Because of Gabby's comment, what I'll say is, hey, we can use part of that 279 to maybe hire because we probably don't need a full-time, but maybe a part-time promotion, or we'll just look to see how that looks. And so they have plenty of money to fund something like that. In addition to that, they have probably about $400,000 in excess funds that for a rainy day that can be used. Next is insurance. For $300, it's just what the insurance, it protects them from liability. Business incentive program is a really great program that's sign grants, storefront improvement grants, and landscaping grants. And we're moving that to $30,000. We had a little dip last year because of COVID, I guess, but now there's a lot of interest. Makes our community look better, especially driving through here. If you look at today versus 10 years ago before they started this program, we had a lot of 4x8 wooden signs. Now we got some nice signage and really help beautify our community by those grants. What that does is, if you didn't know, the business pays 50% and the CDC pays 50%. So it's very good for help for our existing businesses. The Walmart agreement was just deal with sales tax, but we've long passed that. The overhead transfer to general fund, That's just for my services, Jackie's services, and Pablo's help with the CDC. It kind of covers to make them pay for a little bit of that. That was set up when they set the organization up in 1995, so we've never changed it, and I don't think it needs to be changed because it's all our same, we're all doing the same work. Transfer debt service and INS, that's critical because you can see that they're really helping the city. There's 20,000 was originally on a street project that could help streets that are around our business complex and business district. And then they did another 25 a few years later, and so it's a total of 45. The balance of that is help with water and sewer improvements that we're doing, that we're waiting on Mr. Lopez for that funding from Water Development Board. They're already funding to help in the business district. They can't help in the residential area, but they can help in the business district, which includes all of Highway 100. So that's the 93,000, and then it gets a balanced budget. So quickly, they approved this in their meeting, and so if you got any questions on that, otherwise we'll run with that. Good?
Yes, we're good. Just a recommendation on those special projects.
Yes.
The school district has a program where students work with other cities. I believe that one of them is San Benito, that they do social media, they do commercials, they do different things, and they receive donations. Maybe we can talk to them, that way they can work a little bit more here on CDC. I'm all over to promoting the business, that way they can get a little bit more increased revenue and everything, and that's gonna be, of course, also benefit for the city.
Jackie worked with a program, and she can call somebody and get in touch. They do have some, and maybe they can help us, and it,
Would that be something the
Helps.
an intern would be able to do?
Yeah, before COVID, I would get an intern, sometimes two interns, and they would help me with stuff. But if we can talk,
specify.
yeah, now if we can talk to them, I can tell them, send me somebody that is good with marketing or with social media, and that would be what they do and help us more.
I don't recall the name. I believe the professor is new. He was in another city, now is working here. I don't remember his name. He went to one of the meetings.
Yeah, Ms. Quiroz is the one that deals with the,
No, it's another person that he was just hired. He went to one of the Rotary meetings, and he mentioned that
well,
they do.
I know at
everything.
school, she's in charge of dropping off kids and taking them to the works and stuff like that. So I know her experience on that, and that's through DECA, HOSA, DECA. So and we're actually in need in terms of the city, the school, we're in need because of the fuel and everything else that has gone up. It got very difficult to drop kids off in Bronzeville and other places, so we can't find no.
Yes, they have a program where it's marketing. They do specialize in social media, webpage and
But I think-
commercials and all that.
At that point, then we kind of need to transfer over to college students
No,
because.
it's in high school.
No,
It's
no,
in high
I
school.
understand high school, but like we have one intern that's about to leave next week, right? And I mean, I love the fact that they do everything and are really good but at that point, I'd like to get kids that are closer to maybe the hiring age, because we can train them and you'll do excellent job training them, but at the same time, we don't know if in 4 years they'll come back either. So if we could do something where they're a little closer.
We can have the discussion and see where it best fits. I know what you're saying about the college, and the school district has a program, and they have people that mentor them, and maybe that work, maybe it won't. This college has similar type programs, and then we might look at both of them and say, you know what, that didn't fit us, and we need to go out, but we'll look at another one, at different options. Cool. Give them that debt fund.
Any further questions about the spreadsheet that Mark just passed out?
Jackie.
We move on.
The next one you have is our debt fund, and it's real simple because we gotta pay our debts, and it's set up to do. Skip the first section and go down to where it says shows the shaded part of revenues. We get them from property taxes. When you approve the budget, you approve so much for maintenance and operations of the city, and you approve so much that goes towards debt service. And so what this does is sets that up in motion. And so we'll have property taxes, if you can see that first line item that goes all the way across under revenues. We're projecting 594,600. We'll get in revenues. They get a property tax discount if they pay early, October, November, December. October, you get 3%, November, you get 2%, and December, you get 1%, and then it's due, so you get nothing. Delinquent property taxes, we usually collect about $6,000 for the debt part of it. And then permanent penalties and interest is also in there, about $7,500. And then you see our bond payments. We get revenue from the CDC, that $45,000 that I mentioned in that line item. It's an expense from the CDC, but it goes to help cover some of our debt. And then the next one is the TIRZ, Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone, and that's the one that we'll go over in a minute, and it shares with the county to help pay that debt we did for the Whipple Road and the street projects that we did. And that's an amount of $278,000. Then we get a little bit of interest money, so total revenue is $916,000. And where does that go? County to collect our county taxes for the debt runs about $6,000 a year. It's not for the whole year. I mean, that's not for the whole debt collection. That's just for the part of that goes to the percentage that goes to property taxes. I mean, to debt service. Then the next lines all the way down to interest is about $910,727 less the interest. That's our bond payments and our different payments we have on different loans. Good thing is we got two of them that go off in 2 years, and so that'll drop. That's pretty cool to get some of that paid off. So this just shows how the money comes and goes. It's good that we have the CDC to fund part of it. It's good that we have the tourists to fund part of it, and then the rest comes from property taxes. Any questions on that one? Huh?
As long as the number's positive, I guess that's.
Yes, and
it's.
we also keep a positive fund balance in this. I can't remember what it was. It's about $30,000-$40,000 in case there's a problem. It's a rainy day
We have a buffer.
part for that. We got two more. One more. Next one is senior citizens. That one's easy because it's grant funded and it is what it is. But yet I want you to know about it. This is a program that operates out of the community center during the daytime, and we get to rent it at night. The grant is between $65,000 and $72,000 every year, and so that's the funding we get for it. We pay the community center manager's salary out of that, and that's the first portion, about 5 or 6 lines. Then we have office supplies, about $1,000. Electricity is paid out of there, which is good because it's actually used at night and the weekends, and the city doesn't have to pay for it. It's paid through this grant. Same way with utilities, which is water. Telephone was above that. I skipped the telephone, I'm sorry. Fuel is for either picking up people and bring them to the center, or now really since COVID, they're really wanting to stay away. So she delivers food to their homes and takes, what's the company that delivers it to us? Amigas de Valle delivers to us, and she puts it, packages it and puts it in packages and takes them to homes in our community for people that need food. Vehicle maintenance is just to keep up with the van. Building maintenance, if we need, little thing that we have on the building. And then we also get to pay the insurance out of there. So that's the grant for there. Simple.
Is it bad that it's negative, or is what could cause it to be positive? I mean, what do you?
No, what is not really good. We've got so much we can do, and the rest you'll see it in the general fund. And so we max out what they will reimburse us for. They send that every month and they reimburse us. And so we max out whatever they'll give us a grant, and then the balance we pay for out of the general fund under, you'll see it next week, under the, what we call community center department, but it's just a few dollars. So we're very fortunate to have this program.
Thank you.
The last one, and then we can go. Did I give it to you? I'm sorry. The TERS fund, that's a tax increment reinvestment zone, and that's good for another almost 10 years, maybe 8 years. It's the agreement that we made with the county to where certain areas get developed. We get not only our tax from it, but we get the county tax from it, which is 40 some odd cents. And so that's significant. It's about, I figured it out. In fact, it's right at 65% city and 35% county. So all of that money is additional money from the county. If you see down there under revenues, the middle deal says TERS County revenue, $156,144. That was last year. We budgeted 160. We projected 177, and we're projecting 198 due to what the tax rolls say now for this year for them to pay. And what that is basically free money. It pays the debt on the money that we borrowed to do Henderson Road, to do a street project, and then we'll have excess. Even after we pay that debt, we're projecting about a $2 million excess. So we don't want to do it this year or next year because we're paying that down. We borrowed some money from the general fund until the revenues catch up. We'll pay that back, and then we project out, and then we will come to you with what project do we want to do. And it can be, usually it's an infrastructure type of project to help economic development or help transfer people from one place to another that helps both county and us. So you can see the numbers, they work out, and it's really a good funding source and gives us extra revenue.
Any questions or comments from the board? If not, if that's all for today, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
We'll finish next week on Tuesday. We'll start with department heads, and we will deliver that this week to you, so you'll have time to look over it. And each department head will present their stuff, and we won't go over line to line. You know, if last year advertising was 500 and this year's 500 and next year's going to be 500, we don't need to talk about it, but we'll talk about the differences and or something that, hey, I have this thought. We'd be glad to talk about those things. And that's all I have, unless you've got questions.
For the sake of time, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 8:39. Thank you and have a good night.
September 19th, I go under the knife, so I don't know if I'll make the